Okay, I'd like to, is our thing good here?
Yep,
Did you guys hear it?
working on it.
It's louder than other times. I'd like to call our meeting to order. It's Town of Southington Board of Finance meeting. It's September 13th, 2023 at 7 p.m. and we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, we'll do the roll call.
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm half asleep, Mr.
Roll call.
Mr. Lebenik,
Turn it up.
Mr. Pocock.
Here.
Mr. Bedoin,
Here.
Mr. Morrison,
Here.
Mrs. Zoni.
Here.
Chairman John Larry.
Here, no Mr. Lebenik, and we have a quorum. Okay, there are no public hearing items for tonight, so we'll move into our old business, which is the approval of the minutes of our July 26th meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on those minutes or corrections? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes are now official from July 26th. Now we'd like to review the library project. As this board previously requested, we just wanted to look at the library and we want to look at the finances of it. And let's do that. Let's do it now.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd
Yeah.
like to introduce Christine Longo. She is the project manager for Whiting Turner, who are in charge of constructing our library.
Does everyone have a copy?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So on the handout that I just passed out, so you could see the rendering of the outside of the library as well on the bottom left, the floor or the site plan of where the building is going on the property. Next to that in the orange, you have on the top there the first floor plan, and below that the second floor plan. So that's the layout of the furniture on those plans.
It's a little, it's nice and all, but it's a little hard to make out what's what here. But if you can give us a discussion tour of what we're looking at. So the building looks like it's forward of the other building, right? More closer to the road.
It's to the south of the property. So that area in the very left-hand corner, that is where the existing library sits.
Okay. And this gray area on the bottom is the new library?
Yes, the dark shaded area is the new library, yes.
And the shaded area to the right of that?
There's two parking lots.
Okay.
One's where the existing parking lot is off Meriden Road, and then the other one is down on Main Street.
Okay.
Obviously, the most important thing we're going to do today is talk about the financial part.
Yeah, that's the most
what-
important.
what
We
we're
just
here
want to
for. Yeah.
make sure everybody
Yep.
has an understanding of the plan. I guess we can see, actually peek over the fence there and see what's going on.
Actually, we have a camera you can go on 24 hours a day if
Oh,
you want
really?
to watch it, yes.
That's cool.
Just went up this morning.
Yep.
Interesting.
Included in your agenda packet, Mr. Chairman, I included a couple of summaries of the finances.
Yeah, we got it, yeah.
Okay.
If there's any questions, give a howl.
So, let's talk about finances. I'll let you lead the way.
Okay,
And,
absolutely. So we have the budget of 16.9 million. That's what got approved by the town. So on page 2 here, so you could see the construction total. So that's the cost of the project. 15,418,960. So that's that value there. From there, we also have put a budget together for owner soft costs. So that includes things like shelving, furniture, anything that we anticipate the town needing beyond what we've included to get that library operational.
Okay.
So that is the $1.9 million number you see there. In addition, there is an owner's contingency for any unknowns that might come up or potentially any changes to the design that come up that we have set aside. So that's the 277.
And that's in over and above the 16.9? Or
Nope.
in the 16.9?
In the 16.9,
Okay.
yep.
Okay.
And so with all those numbers, so with the construction cost, with what we project the owner's cost to be, as well as the owner's contingency, we're at 17.6. The budget we have approved is 16.9. So the library board has offered to get donations for that delta to help with the owner's cost of $700,000.
Okay.
To my knowledge, they have received $365,000 roughly to date. So with that being said, we're short the $333,000.
Which is close to the contingency, so we're,
Actually, they're just starting if I may, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're just starting their donation drive. The 365, which is exactly what the number that Christine mentioned, that number is already in the coffers. They expect to get a lot more than the 333, which could be used for other things on top of that. But they've been told that we need to have the $700,000 figure. They plan on going above and beyond that.
wonderful.
So the project cost is 17.6, higher than a referendum, right?
That's correct.
Has prices still going up? What do we stand on prices, like inflation? Have they still been going up the last 6 months, or have they been pulling back a little?
So prices are going up, but that number, the 15,418, 960, that number is locked in.
Yeah.
So we've awarded our contract, so
It's
the
locked in.
construction costs won't be going up.
Gotcha.
We have all the contracts awarded.
But that was all locked in higher than we all anticipated back when we approved the library, right? We approved it, then materials were higher, and then you locked in. We adjusted the design, and you locked in the price.
Yes,
Okay, so you're really saying the price isn't going to move higher on us unless something changes. We've locked in the construction and the
exactly,
materials and everything.
exactly,
Unless some unknown pops up, a contingent item. we're
exactly.
good.
Or something, a design item changes.
Okay.
Something changes from a design perspective.
Mark, the 700,000 is going to be used for what?
It's the budget. That's
No,
part of our budget.
It
yeah.
will be used
It-
for anything, construction, it's part
It's
of
going to be, we have a budget, as Christine mentioned, our budget to construct is 17.6. So that includes everything that we have planned going. So if in a worst-case scenario, as you know, we'd have to cut back if that wasn't raised. If they do raise the $700,000, that completes our entire budget and what we anticipated for the contract for the library. Anything above and beyond that, obviously, the library can use for other things. But in this particular case, we're expecting that we'll be having the $700,000, which will be able to complete the whole project.
Oh, how about the old buildings? That's included in this figure we're talking here?
This-
Yep. The demolition of
Demolition.
the existing library is included in that, as well as finishing the parking lot and the landscapings and everything for that as well.
Okay.
That's included in the construction total value.
So Mark, if we do have any adjustments and prices are higher than this that's raised, how do we get the resources?
Say that again?
If the price is higher than,
If we don't raise it,
17.6.
if we don't raise the 700,000, you're saying?
right.
We don't raise the
600,000, we're short 100,000.
If you don't raise the $700,000, then we have contingencies on what would not be built.
Okay.
There's outside amenities, which is the last thing that we're going to be doing, which would be done probably on the schedule. You go through the schedule. That's going to be summer of '24. Those, the outside, the front and back.
Yes.
We may have to cut back on that if they don't raise the amount, the other $333,000. Then that gets cut back a little.
So the bottom line is, because the voters voted on the 16.9, we can't even reach to contingency to augment things. That was the voters' will.
Correct. The only way you do that would be through the budgetary process, and that's a long situation. We don't discuss that. But I do feel confident, and more importantly, the board feels confident that they'll be able to raise the additional funds.
Okay.
And then there's another part that Christine will go over that we've already recaptured a little bit of that, so maybe that's the second part of page 2.
Okay.
So I can move on to that. So we have had a few changes to date. So the bottom half of this sheet here outline changes to date. So there is one or two changes on this list that have been an add to the project. So one of them was some comments that came back from the DOT when we did our encroachment permit for our stormwater. So that's an add to the project. So that's the first item on this list. And I'll talk about the ads, then I'll go to the credits. So then there was also, in the program space, we're adding floor boxes in. So we're adding those in now because adding them in now is much cheaper to add them in before we pour slabs than after slabs are poured if
What
they
are
want
they?
them.
Like for electrical?
Yes, in the floor. Yeah, they're
Okay.
electric boxes in the floor in the
Gotcha.
large program room they have. So those are ads. So that's the first one on this list, and the last one. So the other items here have all come back as a cost savings. So we had to rebid 2 packages. So you can see that delta here of what the savings was for the town on that. So that'll be going back to the town. We also just changed the roofing material, so that is also a cost savings, as well as 2 of the light fixtures that were originally designed have been changed to a less expensive option that meets the same performance.
But you said going back to the town, you mean going back to this project?
The contingency, yes.
Yes, okay.
So what happens is,
Thank you.
and correct me if I'm wrong, Christina, Christine, the 277, the 102 would then be added to the 277.
Exactly.
Okay, so what happens is that's a contingency. So not to get too far ahead of ourselves, that's there to protect the town when we change things or if we find something in the ground we didn't expect. But on the flip side of that, if we don't use the contingency, that goes against that $333,000. So we're hoping that there's plenty of plenty of ways to make that up. We're in very good shape now with adding more money to the contingency. We're almost out of the ground, right?
Yes.
Okay. I've been on many projects. The real problems is getting all your underground stuff. And once you get above the ground, all the surprises are just about over.
Everything's known.
You're going to get surprises. I know. There's no way you're not going to get surprises. But the big surprises, environmental surprises, unknown tanks, pipes, things like that. That's all out of the way. And I'm laughing at Ed because we did a couple projects he and I worked on. We did find that stuff, so it's a little bit different. So I'm pretty comfortable about that part. And I'm sorry, Kristen, to cut you off, but go ahead.
Also, I was going to say, so that's off of the changes. So that's about $100,000 that would be going back.
I saw some cutting into the hill being done. How is,
So we're adding in a new retaining wall so there's a small retaining wall out there now. So we're adding 2 additional retaining walls out there.
Is that at different heights of the hill?
They're all on the bottom of the hill. We're cutting into the hill, but the retaining wall is all, like one spot it's 10 feet, but it slopes out based on the grade of that hill.
So it's like a concrete wall?
Oh, it's like a concrete block, like a modular block wall.
Oh, okay.
and that's a,
Yeah, so it's been engineered
okay,
to
withstand the loads from that hill, yes.
thank you.
And it wasn't really that long ago that we did the parking lot, we addressed the hill, right here in this room. We talked about that. It wasn't like back in the time of the library. It was only, say, maybe in the last 10 years.
A little more than that, but
Yeah, 10 or 12 years ago, we expanded the parking lot and held back the hill and planted some trees. Never quite looked like the original plans, but the job got done.
So we're cutting further back
Okay.
into that hill.
Gotcha.
So by cutting back further into the hill and where the placement of the library is, it allows for a drive path, like for a book drop-off on that back side of the library.
Do you have any concerns about cost? These are your numbers now, so if you're aligned with these, and do you have any concerns about anything happening with cost as we move forward? Do you think this accurately represents where we think we are? You said you locked in the 15.4 is kind of contracted and locked in with whoever
Yes.
the subcontractors are, materials are in. So this is pretty much, so we all feel that we can build this library for the 17.6, knowing that there's a little contingency in there. We just saved 102. That's
There's
our,
also, maybe you want to explain what the contractor at risk situation is. Because that takes the risk away from the town, but go ahead, you can talk.
Yeah, so the town has hired Whiting Turner to manage all the contracts. So
okay,
if there is a risk, it's on Whiting Turner, it's not on the town. So we've guaranteed, this is a GMP, so it's a guaranteed maximum price. So we've guaranteed you, again, provided no unknowns that come out on site or changes, that we could do the job for
so if a
15.4.
subcontractor were to back out or fall apart, Whiting Turner would replace that work.
We have bonds in every
Yeah.
single subcontractor, yes.
Okay, so we've been construction bonding. All right, I mean, any questions from anybody else?
Most important thing I know is schedule, which is the next stage. So we want to go over the schedule? Am I
Yeah.
taking too much time?
No, I was more concerned finances,
Okay.
but schedule, timeliness is.
Well, you guys get
cost.
questions as elected officials, it might be a good idea for that.
Yeah.
The public want to know that anyway.
Right.
So this is just the milestone schedule, so this doesn't outline everything. But we did start construction out there at the end of July. We are on site now. We are prepping for foundations to start. So we are looking at steel going up at the end of October, with steel being done the first week in November. Our envelope weather tight in late February, with substantial completion and move-in Labor Day of next year, of '24. After move-in, the library will open, and then we will, once everything's moved out, we'll begin the hazardous material remediation in the library and the demolition.
So only for a very, very short time will the town be without a library.
No, they won't be at all.
Well, the old one's going to be there, the new one's there, but there's going to be that moment where you move stuff from one to the other, say a week.
We'll be closed for a short period of time.
Yeah, but a very short period of time.
Yes.
Because the old one stays in place till the new one's built, and then there would probably just be that window of lifting, moving, and dropping some stuff from the old one to
Just the
new one.
book. So
Yeah.
the goal is to get new furniture. So in the owner cost on there, that did include new furniture.
The elevator's broken.
Okay.
Yes.
So with
Hopefully it's nobody-
new furniture, we will have like the stacks, and the new furniture will be in, and we'll move the books to a already, I'll say, furnished library. So it would just be essentially moving of the stacks and some of the stuff that the library would like to take to the new
And
building.
even all that's part of the project.
Exactly.
Speaking of get cost issues, in the sense that if you find stuff in there, so how?
We've already tested all this, we
Oh,
tested
you
the
have.
whole
Sorry, I
building
didn't know
already.
Yeah, so we got the
know.
report from, I forget the company's name that evaluated the library. So we've
Oh.
given that to our contractors to take into account for any materials that were tested as positive.
So there shouldn't be any surprise, well, too many surprises.
Who's the company that supplied the information on that?
Was it
Hygienics.
Hygienics? Hygienics. Yeah.
That's on the same subject. When do we plan next going out to bonding? That's probably for you, Jim. Right.
Well, looking at some of the schedule here of completion is probably going to be around this time next year. We've already borrowed $6.2 million. We borrowed $6.2 million for the library already,
Which we need another.
and which we are spending down now. We had spent, as you can see on that summary I sent in the packet, cash out the door through August 31st of '03 was a little over $1 million. That's going to be ratcheted up quite a bit. And when we do our next bond issue, I'm projecting right now it's going to be more than just for the library. It's going to be for another couple other items as well. We're probably looking at the fall of 2024.
Oh, that late? Don't these guys
Pos-
get paid?
We
There's-
do have other money, Tony.
There's reasons why, which is a long discussion I'd be glad to enter into, but maybe at another meeting, maybe.
Well, trust
But we don't plan to use any of those bond anticipation notes, the bands.
No.
We have
No.
enough reserves.
Correct.
But that might be an issue with, what was the last time? What's the interest rate?
We sold bonds in April of this year,
Yeah, 3 point.
2023.
What was the interest rate?
The rates started out, it's sort of an inverted yield curve. They started out a little higher on the short end, which is a little bit odd. And as you went down to the 20 years here, they came down maybe 150 basis points, 175 basis points or more. So the first couple of years, 2-3 years, were 5%. And the total over the total interest cost over the 20-year life was something like 3.325, something like that.
And
Each year has got a different interest, a different coupon rate. So I don't want to just say 3.25 because then people will be saying, oh, 3.25 times, and they differ.
So we got a whole year for the Fed to lower rates.
Well,
Let's hope.
on the long,
Working yet.
No, but
the 3-year look at it does look like rates are coming down.
No, yeah.
2.5, 3 years from now. I can see it on the investment side because
Well, next year's an election year, then maybe it'll go down a little.
we'll see what happens. I don't predict interest rates. I just try to monitor what the
Yeah,
folks
but
get
but
who make the big bucks off doing that. What they're thinking.
But it doesn't matter for the project. If the
Correct.
Yeah, that's
Thank
all I
you.
care about.
Are there any more questions for Christine?
I'm good.
Nope.
Christine, thank you for coming and being here with us
Yeah, absolutely.
and explaining the project. We really appreciate it. And hearing it right from, you at Whiting Turner is valuable to us. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you very much.
If you find Jimmy Hoffa, let us know there's a reward still.
Okay, now we'll move into our financial assessment of our new year. So let's get into variations. You said summaries and close, so we'll slide down to that. You want to walk through it?
Sure. Roman numeral 5, item 1 is the revenue, the potential significant, I should call them significant variances. Obviously, this was only through the first month of July 31st, and you've got the usual suspects there. Those are the usual items that we track because they're the heavier, of course, and then regular tax collections, and will signify any large variances that we see throughout the fiscal year for you. Similar to last year. I mean, not going to change anything. Item number 2.
So let me just understand this.
Absolutely.
We're 303. Let me read what. This is from the point of July 1st forward.
Correct.
We're 303,000 to the favorable on income.
On those significant items that are the larger of the items. Yeah.
It's only for 1 month.
Correct.
And most of that is what, investment income?
Yep.
How'd
Interest
that,
income.
how'd we get such a good favorable on investment incomes in 1 month?
Well, number one, we had the bond issue of $17.45 million of additional cash hanging around. That did replenish some cash that we had spent on the library and several other projects. So a lot of that was replenished. So we're sitting there with a pretty healthy balance for the month of July and August. And frankly, July was a very good current tax collection month. The percentage rate that we normally collected, we beat that by about 0.5% for the month of July. So that's a pretty good cash month.
So it's safe to say we have about 25 million to 28 million in the rainy day?
The rainy day is made up of other items other than just cash. But if you're talking just the cash,
Total money.
the total, yes, it'd be in the upper 28-ish, 28 million-ish, yeah.
So that's invested, unless you draw upon it.
We draw upon it, but it's correct. It is invested, yes.
And then you have the timing of collecting taxes at those, two peak times of the year, right? The August collection and the January collection.
Correct. July and
We get
January.
two big spikes of cash in.
Correct.
And July is bigger because obviously we do motor vehicles in July,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's bigger.
I'm sorry, Tony, I didn't hear.
School safety, the
Was the school safety
730,000.
taken out of the 28 million already, or is it taken out in the future?
going to be, remember, it comes through me first, I have to sign off on it, and then it
Correct.
comes out. So nothing has been taken
Oh,
out
that-
yet.
okay.
That's
So
correct,
gotta be-
yeah.
that's-
Yeah, nothing is taken out, as far as to spend?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
You will see any item that's, per the charter, goes to the manager, then to this board, then to the council.
But your accounting would never be it's in the proper fund, it's just undesignated. So you would actually be taking it from undesignated to designated when the time comes.
That's correct. So it's still part of the town's reserves, it's just allocated, and it's no longer free for use.
Correct. Okay, so 303 above on revenue, that's a positive for us, right?
That's
So now
correct.
let's go transfers from the contingency. It
Yes, there's,
says approved through 6:30, that's prior to.
yeah, you've got two, I included two sheets in this month's agenda packet for you, not to confuse you, but just a final look at last fiscal year, which ended June 30th, 2023. That's the first sheet, page 1 of 2. And it shows you that we utilized, out of the $600,000, we utilized approximately $112,000, which left us with approximately $488,000 in the old fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023.
But it's safe to say we were just lucky there in that the weather cooperated with us. 'cause
The weather was
usually
very
we're off
helpful.
for-
Yeah, the weather was
That would have been much, if we had a normal winter.
Yes.
Where I was using, the normal, I know you used that 600,000 would be much lower.
Oh, that thing goes down to
So, yes,
very,
answer-
very
answer the
frightening.
question, Absolutely.
I mean, I think
Absolutely.
we across the board, right, want to build that back up to where it once was, the 800,000
850.
or 850.
We would love to do that, yes.
Yeah, I think we.
Even if we do it
we should just
incrementally,
keep that all in
100,000 at a
mind
time wouldn't be a bad
for the
idea.
future, that anything we can do to get that back to 850 protects us.
Yeah, and the second page of that was just to show you that nothing has been taken out so far. We wouldn't expect to
Yeah.
thus far in 23, 24. Obviously, through the month of July, and there's nothing on your agenda for tonight's meeting that will hit that. So that's why the second sheet is there as well, just to get everybody in the mindset of the new fiscal year.
Excellent.
All right. Takes care of all of that, right? All of section 5 here.
Well, included is item number 4, the Capital Projects Fund, which we normally been doing quarterly. So this is for the quarter ended 6/30/2023. I sent that along. It's a 2-pager as well. This is in a format that you folks are used to seeing, so I try to send it along Friday, so you'd have maybe the weekend if you wanted to generate any questions on it. But if you move all the way across the columns, all the way to the far right, that's your unencumbered balance at the end of 6/30/2023.
And these projects have all been cleaned up, right? The old ones closed.
The ones that you see that have, I actually highlighted in green, are in the process, are being closed out for the fiscal year ended 6/30/23. So the most notable one, of course, being the water pollution control plant upgrade, 9-point-something million of a balance that we did not need. And that's, you know,
It doesn't pop up green.
Well,
That
it's
doesn't
it's
pop
on
up.
the side, it says
Just the
being
dollar
closed.
amount
If you look on the
was-
far right, it says being closed 6/30/23.
Yeah, just the dollar,
does that show green on yours, Sue?
just the dollar amount,
But if you, yeah, look in the
Oh,
right
that's the
column, it
only
says
thing.
being closed, and there's 6 of them.
yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Small.
Any questions on anybody? All right, let's move into Roman numeral 6. So subcommittee reports, sewer, Mr. Morrison.
We meet tomorrow.
Okay. Public Works, Mr. Pocock and Mrs. Zoni.
Okay, bulky waste is going well. The employees now have body cameras, and they will begin using them as needed. And yes, it's an
Why?
interesting
Why?
concept.
We have an
There have been issues with personal attacks toward personnel, giving them hard times when they're trying to get materials loaded into the correct bins. So they're trying to make sure that if there's any issues that arrive, the personnel can turn on the cameras, and then they'll have records of who is causing the difficulties for the people that are working there.
It's only going to be at the gate.
Right.
Is that through the police department kind of
No.
system or something?
We have our own, we have our own cameras. So, there's, let me backtrack if I may,
Yeah.
Mr. Stoney. We've had situations where, and you know the rules, obviously, if you do not have a pass, I've set the rules a long time ago. I don't care if it's me, a member of the council, a member of the Board of Finance. We treat everyone the same. You have plenty of opportunities to get a pass. If you don't, then the argument is, I loaded my truck, I don't have a pass, it's Saturday, I can't get one, I'm not going to go home and load my truck, I want to go in now, and they give the people a hard time. Or there's articles that are in the truck that can't be dropped off over there. There is. For whatever reason, someone having a bad day, whatever it may be, we've had some situations where there's some verbal abuse. So the policy is that the camera stays off unless there's a confrontation. Then all they do is hit the camera, and they tell the person, you're on camera. And I can tell you that having dealt with this with the PD for many years, it's the employee's best friend. Because I could tell you, and this is not anecdotal, this is true, where I'll get a call and say, I have a complaint about this, this, or this. And I'll say, well, why don't you come into my office? I'll download the camera, and you and I can watch it. And they'll say, let me get back to you. So in this particular case, it's for everybody's protection.
Sure.
And you know, people have, everyone's on a short leash nowadays, and sometimes they get tempers. And I understand that, but this is one where I don't put my people out there to get abused. And so this is one where we have to protect them.
Is it happening
That's
quite
smart.
a lot? I mean, is it?
Well,
More than it
Often
should.
enough.
More
It
than it should.
prevents it from happening.
The pro-
If you
the
know
problem you
the
have
camera,
is
you're not.
they're coming in there with a 10-foot plank, and we don't take 10-foot length.
6 foot.
6 foot,
6
that's
foot,
it.
yeah.
And they get into a real bad discussion
A lot of it is
with the people trying to do their job.
Yeah.
A lot of it is material, but some of also the ones that we have the most issues with are the ones who have a loaded truck and a permit from 3 years ago. And they say, well, here's my driver's license. Well, that's not how the process
That
works.
don't work.
And I know that we've done this many, many years, and the fact of the matter is everybody knows how the permit system works. And you can't just make exceptions because somebody loaded up their truck. So anyway,
That's-
we expect it to work,
Okay.
and thanks to the Public Works Committee for
Yeah.
It's exciting public works briefing. We're just starting. We're just starting.
Okay, the leaf bids went out. They're due in at the end of the month. It's likely that they would only use the outside contractors if some of our own machinery fails. We now have enough equipment and personnel that they think to handle the leaf pickups on our own. So they're hoping to keep everything in-house, and they're hiring employees now. Water Department reported that their revenues are down this year somewhat because it's been very wet. People weren't watering their lawns, so therefore they didn't need as much water, so the revenues are down.
They got all that free supply.
Yeah, I know, they got the free supply, but they said they're going to be monitoring their accounts to figure out how they're going to deal with it. The EV charging stations was an interesting thing. The town share, after everything was said and done, was $66,200. And this money is going to be fully funded by a block grant that they received, so there will be no cost to the town at all for installing these stations.
The council did not approve of that.
They
So-
did not.
They did not approve of that. So we will not be moving forward with the EV station.
To me. Okay. Thing was, the Barnes Municipal Parking Lot had a contract that was awarded, and it was in the part of the budget, so the parking lot is being done at the Barnes Museum as we speak. And that was it for financials.
Just have a question. There's a lot of advertisements in town for people who pick up junk and like junk haulers. Do we have an issue with people coming? Personal.
Monitor that with the scan that they use on the stickers, so that if they see someone coming more than once, they deal with it. I'm not sure how they deal with it, but they do watch for it. And they also watch for the people who advertise on Facebook, you know, that will pick up your junk. But they do take things to other locations as well, those haulers. I'm not sure how and where they just.
And I had just one thought for everybody on the water. Back a long while ago, when I was on the Public Works Committee, we discussed the water bill. And in reality, in the broad big picture, the water's free, the delivery's what you charge for. So in the case where if water usage was cut in half, the water bill would remain the same, because or let me, you know what I mean? If everybody were to say, I took measures to only use half the water, I took conservation measures, the bill would likely remain the same or increase. Not immediately. If you're the first one to stop using water, you're going to get a lower bill. But once that all takes hold, it's actually the delivery, the system, the fixed costs are higher. So they use the variable water usage to calculate them, but the costs are fixed. So if the variable water usage ever fell in half, got cut in half, the bill would remain the same. That's just for people to kind of understand. I'm not the water department, but
Right.
that's just the economics.
Sewer
of it.
works the same way.
Sewer is the
Right.
same way.
The infrastructure still needs
Yeah.
maintenance.
So if you want to save water, save it when nobody else is. But if everybody saved the same amount, we could expect an adjustment to the overall rate.
Everyone's bill would stay the same.
Okay, Mr. Pocock, anything to add to Public Works?
Nope, did a great job with what.
Open space.
We have a lot going on, but it's all executive session at this point, so
Okay.
we'll maybe have something to report at the next meeting.
I just a question, maybe more personal in nature. The goats that are on the corner, what is the story with I went to visit the goats, and they all came over. There's about 10 of them, and they all came over to say hi, and it was an interesting.
On the corner of
On the
Berlin?
corner of Berlin, yeah.
Okay.
What are the goats? What's going on with those goats?
Just an attraction.
He's on the Farm
Yeah.
Heritage Open Space Committee.
So it's just
It's just like bringing it back, because that was a farm before. It took the goats for a brief time.
But they also do maintenance, don't they?
Yeah.
Don't they
Eat the grass.
for us, yeah.
Well, that's what he took them out for a short time. They're back, but I must have had 100 people ask me where the goats were. I mean, they're driving in.
Right there, right across the.
And, I mean, big interest because but and we're
oh,
send somebody to cut them. They'll eat.
they're like employees, de facto employees. The goats.
And if they trip, I got workers' comp for them somewhere else. So.
Thanks, Mark. That's
Good.
about it for open space.
All right.
Just come to mind,
Thanks.
and eat the poison ivy.
Yeah, they love that.
Self-insurance, Mr. Bedoyan?
So for last fiscal year for self-insurance, we were over budget by $350,000, which at the time when we did the budget, it was coming off COVID, and there was a lot of unknowns, like how many people are going to, surgeries. It's like, we thought it was going to be even higher than that. So that's not being over budget by $300,000. If you think about the year before, we were under budget by like $2 million. So you got to kind of net it together because COVID played a role in both those years. So for the first month of this year, in July, we are under budget by $400,000. So,
We got August report
What
yesterday.
was it, 350?
Not so much
350
anymore.
was under budget for the whole fiscal year of last.
Oh,
On a
Mark-
$24 million budget, it was 350.
Okay.
Our claims for last fiscal year were $359,000 higher than what we projected, than we budgeted.
For August?
No, I thought you were talking for the old fiscal year ending.
Oh, yeah, for the old one, yeah. Higher, yeah.
Plus we left the town left a $1.4 million hole in that budget to begin with.
Yeah.
So you got to add that to the $1.4
Right.
million
Well, that
hole.
was using the reserves
Yeah.
for the budget. That's
I have a summary, the Self-Insurance Committee, Mr. Chairman, of which Mr. Bedoyan is on, is meeting next Wednesday. So we just got numbers for the month of August. So that packet will be going out Friday to you, Kevin, and to the other members of the Self-Insurance Committee. Where you get, I did a little analysis of the activity from last fiscal year. You'll get that as well as the month of August in the new fiscal year updated. So
How does that look? Or you didn't really look at it yet?
yeah, August was a tough month as compared to past Augusts.
So we're plus 400. So are we talking about even now?
It went
Under 400?
it went the other way.
Okay. Well,
But
at least we have a nice buffer from this
Yeah.
month, from July, so.
So still no harm from reducing the self-insurance rate as part of our budget.
But self-insurance rate.
Well, the
'cause
the
there's
rate at
several-
which the employees paid, we reduced that rate in the
Yeah, that-
calculation of the budget. We're,
the way
That led to a
the new
little bit of a-
calculation, like,
Yeah, it led to a revenue, under-realization of revenues in the last fiscal year by the tune of about $160,000, $170,000 for them, because don't forget now, this happened in May and June. And part of that, the first half of that, if you will, was for the old fiscal year. That was implemented by the Self-Insurance Committee, approved by the council. So that went into effect with the last paychecks in the month of June, if you will, both for schools and for general government employees. In addition, phase two of that was a reduction of the amounts that employees would co-pay in the current year that started July 1st. Of course, that happened after the town and the schools' budgets were in effect. So we're going to have another loss in revenue of about another, I'd project, I didn't make any projections yet, but I predict probably around 180, 190,000 in the fiscal year 23-24. So that will eat into the reserves in that budget.
as predicted, right? Well,
I'm not going to get into that because I was not in favor of that move.
okay.
So nothing good will come from me with that.
We implement policy, we don't.
Yeah.
policy.
But as discussed.
Good answer, boss. Thank you.
That's what I'm here to protect.
Okay. All right. Subcommittee reports. Okay, we've got one more. Economic strike, Mr. Morrison.
No meeting since last time.
Investments. I guess we talked about that.
we
with
talked
the
about it,
income, right?
yeah.
Anything more? Anything from fire, Mr. Pocock, Mr. Bedoyan?
I haven't been to a meeting, but I'm not sure that,
Oh, it's supposed to be here in December,
Right.
but I wouldn't be surprised with the news I get on everything else that it'd be delayed. But I know that the guys are going out there, I believe, in October.
Yeah.
They fly out for a check.
Right.
So we'll know more after that.
I mean, they've been very busy. I mean, I talked with the
And we're still holding
chief
some.
and the assistant chief. Today was an extremely busy day,
Well,
obviously.
with the water, yeah. There wasn't a fire issue, it was a water issue
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to mention, I spoke with the chief. He still likes having you as liaisons to the board, and he's offered for us to go and meet with him. Listen and learn sessions.
That's good.
And like, I think the other one worked out well where it was the same night.
Yeah, it was really good.
That way there, they all assembled, the commission, whoever came, at the police department, the commissioners, the chief and whoever he called in. And then we had a 1-hour session for 3 members, and we had a 1-hour session for another 3 members, just like a listening session. I'll set up the same if everybody's okay with it. Let me just- He offered. I think that just makes us more informed on these big public safety components of our budget.
You don't want to hold that till after the next? I think you probably should, because, I bound for the next.
Oh, no, I like to keep the cycle moving. We could, if that's what the board wants.
I think it's a better thing to do, because I
Okay.
know, at least my seat will be replaced. So his will be
Yep.
replaced. Talking to 2 that are.
Yeah, but I would like to go anyway for other.
Yeah, I'll do, I mean, I could do that if that's the will of the board. I could hold it off or put it in, and the next finance could go, in regular cadence. It's just, if we think we'd rather hold, I don't want to take a whole big vote, but what's our thinking? Do we go forward with it, or do we hold?
I got.
Go with it?
Yeah, I don't mind staying with it.
And somebody new comes on, they could always, I mean, the fire department, police, they're always open. If let's say we get 2 new members on the board and they say, boy, I'm very curious, they could easily, without question, go over to the fire department or the police, and they may not get the whole contingent of folks there, but the chief and, the 2 chiefs will brief them. So, all right, I'll see what I can do in setting up the meetings. If they could accommodate, they'll accommodate. If they, somehow it gets closer to election, well, then I'll let the chief, the fire chief decide when it fits in with his schedule, but I won't mention the election to him. Okay, any other subcommittee reports? Okay, any public communications? Anybody from the public? Okay. Any board member-to-member communications?
Just a couple of quick things. I went to accept a check or checks yesterday from the car cruise guys who were donating to the Southington Community Services, and I was asked to do it as a town official. It was interesting in the sense that, the community services, we sort of fund it to a certain extent. But, it brings home the fact that a lot of it is funded mostly through us, the community. They receive grants and stuff, but the amount of, donations to the place, this was only $800, but the amount of donations that come in is pretty amazing. It just shows you what a charitable community we are. So I was just hit me. Second thing, Jim, were you going to bring up the ARPA stuff that you presented to the town council? Because that was a really interesting presentation you did.
I could do it.
No, don't, I mean, I just...
Do you want just a brief review?
Summary,
What is that?
A summary.
I'm sorry, we don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, sorry. On town council on Monday, Jim presented some information from the state on how, there was an audit on how people are using the ARPA funds. And I think he said, there was one bad case last year, and there were 15 that are being, audited this year, and obviously we're not one of them. But I was curious as to what your impression was of that.
It's tough to say. Just in a nutshell, Mark was asked by the council if we can make a brief update to the council based upon the federal government's change in how they're looking at how they're auditing the ARPA fund program. And the main change is that for municipalities, the first $10 million that a municipality gets is lumped together as one big reporting item in your uploading into their portal. Anything over $10 million has to be itemized with very specific data. The information's been uploaded to that portal by our assistant director, Christina Savigny-Smith. She's been doing it since the beginning and doing a great job at it. That's a little bit of a change, obviously, because at first it was supposed to be everything, every dime you spent was supposed to be uploaded into their portal, and I guess that could have been a nightmare for them. I don't know, but anyway, anything over 10 million is what has to be reported in great detail. As you may recall, we received an award of slightly under 13 million. 12.9 and change, so which would mean the item that got us, the project that got us over $10 million, and then everything from then to $12.9 million has to be reported on a quarterly basis into the federal portal on a very detailed basis. We've been able to do that, and the second good change, very positive change we think at the municipal level, is that the municipality gets to choose which of those items brought you over the 10 million. So you don't have to put in all this little stuff that might have happened. So we have designated and has been accepted for the 3 of the pump stations, the sewer pump stations. I think it's Old Turnpike, Juddbrook, and Patton Brook, I think, are the 3 that we designated, because those are the amounts, and there happened, matter of fact,
3 million.
Comes right to the number.
comes about the number, 3 million for those 3 projects. So it just happened to work that way in our favor. So that's what the council was interested in. And so that's what I reported. I gave a brief update on the projects that we had spent the funds on and what was spent to date. And then Mr. Lombardi asked about the CARES Act money, which was a different tranche of money. It was not through the ARPA funds, if you will. It was done through the coronavirus relief funds. I think they call it CARES, CARES.
Just to refresh your memory, that's where
Yeah.
the town had to spend the money first.
Yes.
We spent it on PPEs, all the,
Yeah.
overtime for the PD and the fire, probably some of the plexiglass you see around the town hall, so, and Jimmy,
And-
what we spent it on.
The information was at the beginning, and I remember even before I retired from Wallingford, loading that first item up to the OPM portal, and I guess over time it must have gotten overwhelming. What they did was they hired an accounting firm of Cohn Resnick, and they worked with them. They developed an uploading portal and a link with them as well. And then from there on in, the towns reported their costs to the CPA firm that was engaged by OPM at the state of Connecticut for the tranche of money that came from the federal government and was passed through OPM. There are direct federal funds, too, that are outside of this scope. These are the funds that OPM is going to be held accountable for by the federal government.
So that's just the 13 million.
So they hired Cohn Resnick.
Don't confuse it. He's talking about the CARES fund.
The CARES fund.
Which was the reimbursement for the stuff.
That's correct.
The ARPA funds are what we gave to you, that big sheet and all
Big,
the stuff, with two different amounts.
Two different tranches, two different sets of projects. And Cohn Resnick and the state of Connecticut, by some random and some red flagging that had been going on when you submit your costs on a quarterly basis, chose 15 municipalities to audit in detail. In other words, hey, we're coming in, we want to see the records for this program and all your expenditure documentation, et cetera, et cetera. So they chose 15 cities in Connecticut to do the audit. They released the results of that audit in January of 2023. It's on their website, OPM's website, if you wanted to go find it. If you wanted one, I do have one in my office. I can send it to you electronically. It identifies the 15 municipalities, and
We were not one of them.
we were not one of the
That's
15.
the bottom line. We were not one of the 15.
But you're also desk audited, because when you load anything into a portal, there are certain parameters.
Yep.
For example, if you're going to say you spent $3 million on a fire truck, that's going to set off they're 1.6, 1.7 million. You know what I mean, for an aerial truck, a ladder truck. So if you're going to do stuff like that, you also have to describe the cost. So there's certain red flags that generate it. You're going on that list. West Haven, where some funds were stolen, et cetera. So I'm not going to get too specific about that. But anyway, we have not received anything with regards to any desk audit, no red flags, and we were not on the 15. So far, so good.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any additional board communications? All right, let's get into plans and initiatives, the letter from CLA.
Yes, I included that. I think I told you I would when Leslie was here making
Yep.
her presentation. You folks are used to getting this. It's what they call the governance communication letter. It's where the CPA firm basically tells the body or the individual who is responsible for their appointment, which in this case is you folks, what to expect in the audit, what the expectations are from us, what you should expect from them, and how you can communicate that if you've had any concerns or anything else. It also tells you what accounting and auditing standards they will be applying and sort of how they go about and do their work. So if you had a chance to read that over, if not, please do. And if you have any questions on it, give me a call. And if I can't answer them, I'll certainly get in touch with the auditor in charge of the engagement.
Just a very quick question, Jim, while you're here, is, the audit report was great for last year that we did. But has there been anything that you noticed, standards have changed, a GAAP or something, that would affect the audit going forward? Is there new information that we would be audited against, new policies and stuff?
Any change in policy, we communicate to them. They look at policies every single year.
No, I mean, any from general auditing or accounting standards that would be different this year than?
No, the auditing standard, I mean, they might audit certain departments, maybe with a little bit more than they have in the past.
Okay.
They might rotate them for some of to determine their internal controls over, let's say, revenues. Like the big folks, you can imagine, the tax office, they spend quite a bit of time there, the sewer billing office, the town clerks here and there. They may not hit some of the smaller departments that provide maybe a few $1,000s here and there of revenue, but they do rotate them around a little bit here and there. They don't really tell us how they're going to go about and do that, but the auditing standards are the same. They're universal, no matter who does the audit, no matter what firm does the audit.
Okay. Great, thanks.
Okay, let's go into consent agenda. It's pretty easy night here. We have 17 items on the consent agenda and only one administrative item. So what I'd like to do is just read the consent agenda items. They'll all be defined in the minutes. I think we've done a good job of disclosing everything in the minutes. The only thing back from, I remember Mr. Stanforth a long time ago asked us not to put checks in there when we receive a check, like the picture of the check, because it has personal information, banking information of the giver. So we, aside from excluding that, redacting that for good reason, our minutes are pretty comprehensive and include everything we talk about here. So which is thank you. Okay. Administrative business, consent agenda. These are all fiscal year 2024, and every one of these are cases where the town received the money, and all we're really doing as a board here is we're going to approve that money that the town already received goes to the department and the line item for which it could be used.
Excuse me, fiscal year '24?
Yes.
23, 24, the new year.
They're all New Year
Yes,
monies,
just say 23.
donations and grants.
Yeah, nothing of prior year. Okay, so appropriation 1,400, youth services, local prevention. And we have a letter, there's a letter for everything, that was United Way. $250, veterans program services. $2,060 to the town clerk for nominee fee program services. $8,000 even, town clerk document preservation grant. $61,759 was part of the opioid settlement, our piece. We discussed that before. And then there's $16,144 from the opioid settlement that we're putting to program services. And that was discussed. Where it's going was laid out by Steps and
Correct.
the chair.
They did a presentation on that.
Yeah. $230, police dare and crime prevention grant. $4,000 even, the turf field fund for contracted services. $100, fire for CPR supplies. $2,407 for the library for building donations, program expenses. $9,950, the Barnes Historic Grant for program expenses. $2,650 for the Barnes Humanity Grant for program expenses. $3,820 for veterans program services. $200 for recreation for holiday program services. $520,897 into the capital project fund for the Town AIDS Road Grant. $2,500 to the capital project fund for Rails to Trails for a memorial bench. $26,131 to the special revenue fund for youth services for DCF supplies grant. $10,500 to youth services for DCF JRB grant. Those are the items on the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the
Second.
consent.
We have a motion by Mr. Bedoni, second by Mrs. Zoni. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, that all carries 5-0. And the one administrative business item is a department transfer from the 23 year 1,839 police department building maintenance. And I'll just slide down. Bear with me here. I got to get to the bottom of the consent.
You'll see from the letter, it's a cleanup item from last fiscal year.
Yeah, I just want to get to it. I didn't get to it. Okay. Overtime to building maintenance. Okay, so it's a a mechanical invoice for repairs to the police department boiler, $1,839. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Oni, seconded by Mr. Pocock. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? That motion carries 5-0. The transfer from the town manager's purview, what have we got here? 300, what is it? All right, human resources, $71. Office supplies, $5. Community gasoline, $1. What is
I went
this?
crazy this month. No, we had to finish the fiscal year, we had to balance the
Okay.
lines out. Yeah, so
I didn't,
I was giving
Okay.
away money like crazy, $1 here, $5 there, yeah.
okay, just didn't, I didn't understand.
Yeah. We had to zero out the lines.
Okay, nothing to approve there because we've
Yep.
granted the pre-approval. Any other business to come before this board?
No.
Okay, we'll look for our favorite motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, our clock is broken over there. Motion to adjourn, we adjourn at 8:01. Motion is second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We adjourn at 8:01.
Thanks.
Thank you.